Okay, take two. We are ready, and we're talking mindset. Everything mindset you need to break through limiting beliefs. I'm going to wait for my co-host here, Blake Worrall Thompson, to jump on here. And we're going live in 60 seconds. We are bringing him on right away. Here we go. My man, how you going? You good, legend? How are you, bro?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, dude, really, really good. We are on and we are live. So let's talk about, hey, Kayla, let's talk about why we're here. In my private group for personal trainers, yesterday, a great topic came up about limiting beliefs. So, Blake, firstly, why don't you, maybe just mention what you do and who you help and your little quick background on this.
So from my side of things, I've been a personal trainer for 15 years now. And probably over the last kind of 3-ish years started to shift to more the mindset performance side of things. And as a result of that, having done NLP and Spiral, kind of playing in both fields of the training side of things and then also the coaching side of things. So with 15 years of trial and error, probably quite well equipped to know what works and what doesn't, hopefully.
Totally. Love that. And dude, the question came up, how do we deal with self-limiting beliefs? So maybe do you want to just touch on what are they, if they're a normal part of the process and why people experience those?
Yeah, absolutely. In NLP language, and I actually saw the question in your group yesterday, in NLP language, you're essentially got what's called DS, or PS, which is your present state, and DS being your desired state. And essentially what's stopping people from having more success is two things. One being their resources or lack thereof, and two being what's known as interferences. And interferences can be patterns, habits, and in this case, limiting beliefs, which everyone has them. It's just that most people aren't conscious enough to pinpoint exactly what it is, other than to know they're not having the amount of success that they'd like to have.
Yeah, so it's almost like there's no awareness. For some people, there's no awareness that this is happening. That they've got the glass ceiling, the limiting beliefs there, and then the other edge is, I guess there's three things, right? People aren't aware it's happening, number one. People are aware it's happening, number two, but unaware what to do. And then number three is probably where you help people get to, is to break through it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, with your coaches, the first step of any of these transformations, and even my thought with them and their clients, is creating awareness. And a lot of us will live in a blissful state, and it can be, certain areas of our life, and that kind of feels nice, but it doesn't really get us results. And then the next stage is that awareness, and then it's where you kind of go from there. So for a lot of people, the awareness stage is actually more uncomfortable, because it's I've got this thing that is stopping me, or I'm now aware of what's holding me back, and I don't know how to get past that. So it's really big. And one of the things for me is that, people say, just do it. And it's yeah, cool, awesome. Thanks for the, valuable insight. Just do it. If it was easy as just doing it, we would all have six packs. We'd all have bikini bodies. We'd all be eating broccoli and chicken because we know that's good for us. It's not, unfortunately, there's an element of absolutely taking action. And there's also a component of understanding the way that your brain is wired and what we need to do to clear that belief, repattern it so you have more success going forward. And that's a part that is really important if you do want success, and also where it's not necessarily such a grind. Setting SMART goals isn't necessarily groundbreaking and a perfect formula, because most people don't have much success when it comes to setting goals and seeing them through.
Totally. I'd say like 90% of people set some big lofty New Year's resolution, and, based on the stats, by January 15th, most of them are back to square one, right?
Yeah, 100%. Spot on.
Yeah. So what's do you have any, in your practice, any practical tips of getting more awareness? Okay, I'm striving for this higher self or this evolution in a certain area of my life. What's a simple trick or something you could apply just to be aware if this is even existing?
On a very surface level is, and for these guys, personal trainers, is your numbers. Is your bank balance working for you, or is it not? Are your clients, coming to you in the droves, or are they not? Are you getting results, or you're not? On a very basic level, and we can go layers on depth of that, but on a basic level, having the awareness to look at your world and go, I'm not sure that part of my world's working for me. I need to change it, because, one of my favorite thoughts is what got you to where you are now isn't going to get you to the next spot. So if you can't change, if you can't expand this, then you're going to find yourself, replaying the same processes. And I think that's a big reason why people that win the lotto go broke, is because, they had a broke mindset, and, they bring in 10 million, 20 million, some of them in America, 100 million, but they haven't changed that. So all of a sudden, I think the statistics are 95% of people that win the lotto are broke or back to square one within 3 years, because they haven't expanded their way of thinking to align with $1 million mindset.
I think a lot of these guys even go bankrupt. They go worse than where they were. They might have been earning $50K a year, but then they have to end up go bankrupt because they haven't upgraded internally.
Yeah, 100%. And that's
you could wish on your greatest enemy that they win 100 million lotto, and it'll be a hell of a ride to go up and then come crashing back down.
Yeah. So your numbers in your current business, essentially, because I know that's who we're kind of talking to, tell a really good story as to what's working and what's not. And you can sugarcoat it and say, oh, I'm kind of on the right track, but at the end of the day, you need to expand your way of thinking, and you need to be able to clear what's, what we call interferences, to help you kind of move forward.
Okay, cool. This is great. So step one is, okay, look at, let's say last month, May, I did this revenue, this amount of sessions, this amount of leads. And if June isn't, X plus 1, it's not growing, then that's the first sign, right?
Yeah, 100%.
If your goal is growth, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now, all right, so I'm aware, right, I've got some limiting beliefs around money or success. What's the next step for someone to do then? Is it stuff they can do internally? Do they need extra help for that?
Well, there's two parts that kind of jump out. The first is developing a skill set. And one of the things that works against us is we're not as resilient as we were when we were kids. When we first started to walk, it wasn't like we tried once and all of a sudden we'll just walk in the streets. We tried a couple of 100 times before we stood up and walked. Whereas now people go, oh, it's too frustrating, I can't do it. So one of the things that I think is really important is to understand the 4 stages of learning and know that there's a little kind of sticky bit in there. All right. So if you're going to go through the 4 stages of learning, you've got stage 1, which is unconsciously unskilled, right? You don't know what you don't know. And then stage 2 is consciously unskilled. So you're now aware that you're not very good at whatever you're trying to do. All right. And this is the sticky bit. This is where people go, throw in the towel. I'm not very good at marketing. Or I'm not very good at sales, or I'm not very good at leads, or I'm not very good at systemizing my business. And that gets frustrating for people. If you can know that that's part of the process and go, okay, stage 2, I know I'm here and I know with repetition it's going to work, Then I can move into stage 3, which is consciously skilled. So you still require effort to articulate that skill. And then where the beauty happens is unconsciously skilled, where you don't have to think about it. So if we put driving forward as a example, when you're 12, 13, you don't really know, or even younger, you don't know that you're not a good driver. All right. And then we move into stage 2, consciously unskilled. You know, you're trying to reverse parallel. You've just knocked over the postie, his bike, and 3 houses, and you're not very good at it. Then it's consciously skilled. So you know you can kind of do it. You know you're doing all right, but it really requires focus. And then you get to stage 4, where you pretty much just back it in. You know, these guys on this call could drive 2, 3, 4 hours now, even longer, and not really know what just happened. You know, because they don't have to consciously keep their eyes on the road. They're unconsciously daydreaming, or they're talking to friends in the car, listening to music, singing, whatever it is. They're not consciously performing that skill. And that's the stage where, you know, people might talk about flow, or, you know, where these guys want to be, where things are effortless. Effortless doesn't just happen. You need to go through those 4 stages of learning before it becomes effortless, and before it's kind of so ingrained in your DNA and your neural pathways that it doesn't require effort and conscious skill output.
Totally. Great example. I think most people be driving with a manual. They can now eat a sandwich, talk on their phone, change the music, and, you know, do 10 things at once. Whereas prior to that, it was, you know, radio off, no distractions, just to get the gears right.
Yeah. And mate,
I think one of the biggest myths in our game is, one of the biggest myths in our game is people think I'm just not good at sales, or I'm just not good at marketing. But, you know, I don't know about you, but I was a horrible salesman when I began. I didn't come out, you know, I wasn't born and the doctor said, guys, this kid's going to be a great salesman. You know, it's a learned process, and it's uncomfortable to do that, right?
Yeah. And mate, like, you know, I don't know what stage of business these guys are up to, but, you know, I was the same, like, terrible at sales. I think about my first probably 5 years of PT, and, you know, if I knew where all my clients lived, I'd probably write them, you know, put together a handwritten letter and apologize for how bad I was as a trainer. But you only know what you only know, and then you can get around people that help you with your skill set. And, you know, I know they talk about 10,000 hours to master your, you know, skill set or whatever you want to do. I think you can shorten that massively if you get around people who are good at what they're doing and learn from them, e.g. having a coach, which, you know, me after 15 years of training and coaching, I don't envision not having a coach. I've still got a coach in different areas of my life, and one of them being business, and one of them being, you know, the sales, marketing, and the deliverables, which you're fully aware of as well.
I think you're the most coached person I know in terms of like the amount of stuff you've dove into, right?
Well, mate, for me, it's like, it's a no-brainer. If you like, people that don't have a coach, I don't understand. It's like the world's best people, the Oprahs, the Michael Jordans, the Barack Obama, the world's best people have a coach, and you're either got your ego or your pride or something in the way that's stopping you from thinking you don't need a coach. There isn't one person who doesn't need a coach. And for me, and this may be different to other people's beliefs, but like, I value my friends' opinions, but I also know that it's, one, their opinion, so they're just kind of passing their opinion on to me, and 2, they're not asking me the right questions which help me expand. So my coach will always, they're not really there to give me their opinion. They're here to help me ask better questions of myself, which expand my way of thinking. Because like I said before, you're not going to get to the next stage if you are thinking with the same limiting beliefs. You've got the same roadblocks, the same interferences. You're just going to keep going around in circles, and it's going to be exhausting.
Yeah, I think nothing worse than going in circles when you want the next level, but it's frustrating to come back to the same point, right? Totally. So with self-limiting beliefs, let's say we've got a PT who has been stuck at an income level for a certain amount of time. They want to go next level. what are the next steps? They're aware of their problem. For these guys, like, what are the steps? The question was like, how do we break through self-limiting beliefs? So what are some steps they can do to go beyond that?
Well, for me, it's, I mean, to give you an understanding of kind of NLP and coaching is identifying it first, then, so there's a really good book called The Brain That Changes Itself. Essentially, from an NLP point of view, when I'm coaching someone, is I want to clearly be able to identify the belief or the limiting belief, and then have them clear on what they want. Because one of the problems for coaches is it's like, oh, I don't want this. And that's like, awesome. I know you don't want to be broke. I know you don't want to have no clients, but like, know exactly what you want, because the language that you're using, your brain's like overhearing the whole time. All right. So even from a simple coaching point of view for these guys, if they're coaching their clients, if someone wants to move away from chocolate, your brain doesn't understand positives or negatives. So if you say, I don't want chocolate, I don't want chocolate, I don't want chocolate, all it's hearing is chocolate. So instead of saying that, what do you want? I want to eat more broccoli. I want to eat more chicken. I want to drink more water. So first, really become conscious of the language that you're using. From there, obviously, we talk about the skill sets and working through those 4 stages. And that doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to be fit, because there are some times where it might be that you need a coach, an NLP coach, where in your neural pathway, you cannot break this cycle. So to give you a basic understanding of the brain is what I work to do is, one, identify what their current roadmap looks like. So it might be that, they believe that they can only earn $100,000. And what I want to do is essentially open what's called their critical facility, which is their brain, open that up, which is where hypnosis and kind of soothing chats and soothing voices come into play. So you're really calm, grounded, and open, and then rewire the brain to have a different destination. So create a new neural pathway that helps them change their way of thinking. What will happen with that is, if we can create something that they do want instead of what they don't want, is if we then, it's called myelin. So it's essentially a sheath going from where was point A, we're now going to point B. And where we have the myelin, if we can then practice it for 3 or 4 weeks, that myelin or that new neural pathway gets stronger and thicker, and the old one starts to shut down. So what you're essentially doing is going, okay, I used to take road A, I'm now taking road B, but I need, and I've created road B, but I need to strengthen it by thickening and strengthening the myelin. The stronger and thicker that gets, the weaker this old one gets. Bang, that one falls away, and you've now got a new, simple, easy neural pathway that's heading in the direction of your goals. So that's kind of how habits on a more brain chemistry level work.
So we've got a PT who their limiting beliefs might be showing up as like not following through on sales calls, not returning leads, not returning clients, doing 2 workouts a day to be busy, but not doing the stuff to grow their business, right? So with that example, if they today just made 5 dials and tomorrow made 5 dials and just rerouted that new pathway, what you're saying is that will over time become the easier choice, yeah?
100%. The other thing that is worth investing just a little bit of time in is understanding what part of that process makes you really uncomfortable. So it's like, I don't want to be too salesy, or I don't have very good social skills, whatever it may be. And often it takes us to see with our own eyes examples that like cut out that belief. So an example that happened to me and that happens to a lot of people is people with money are bad. All right. So I was heavily entrenched in my brain, in my neurochemistry, to believe you couldn't make money and be a good person. So you've got 2 options. One, we feed our ego mind and we go, okay, that's my belief. I'm going to seek out where that's true and strengthen that belief. Or I go, I don't think that belief is really serving me. I'm going to start seeking out opportunities and people that don't follow that path. So, for example, you know, a person that we both know, Taki Moore, when he sold me a $25,000 program, he was eating a hamburger. All right. So my then stigma around being really salesy and, you know, really corporate-y, and you had to be this type of silk, slick, greasy salesperson. He was just happy, just chilling. Are we a good fit or are we not?
Yep.
You know, as opposed to trying to sell me into something that wasn't a fit. Then I got a chance to meet him, spend some time with him, and I spent a fair bit of time with him, you know, over the last 18 months. And he makes more money than he probably knows what to do with. And he's just a dude, you know, and I've seen probably, you know, countless cases of this over the last probably 5 years where I've really started to understand my limiting beliefs and then quashed that old belief where, you know, people with money were bad people, because I kept on looking out for situations and cases where that wasn't true. So being able to identify on a conscious level, you know, being able to identify what is a belief that isn't serving you, and can I start to seek out, you know, a different way to do things, or a, you know, environment, person or group of people that quashes that belief, also helps to start to rewire the brain going, okay, maybe that belief isn't truth, if you know what I mean.
Totally. Yes, starting with that awareness as well. I think I hear a lot of personal trainers that I chat to who are like, well, I want to double my income this year, but I don't want to be salesy. You know, I hear that a lot in our industry, right? That people have this fear of being salesy or being pushy. But the way I see it, you're going to change this person's life, who is going to go home and change their kid's life and the future of their grandkids' health. Is that not worth being a little bit passionate about what you're doing, right? So what would you say to guys who have like, is that a limiting belief showing up? Hey, I want to double my income this year, or open my own gym, or have a second location, but I don't want to be too salesy and pushy with people.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a limiting belief, and credit where credit's due. Like I don't want to dismiss sales as a whole, because it's a real, when I say real, it's not, but it's kind of a real worry for a lot of people, is that salesy thing. And it's not just in the health and fitness industry. So I don't want to dismiss you as if you're some kind of, you know, random person that's got this problem with sales. A lot of people do, but it is bullshit in the simplest of terms, because what I said, you know, firstly, and you made it clear, is we aren't selling drugs, or we're not selling a dodgy car.
Good drugs.
You know, like, well, I don't know. Yeah, most of us aren't. But, you know, like we're selling and I say selling, we're selling something that's going to massively improve people's lives. And one of the things, you know, everyone's got their own sales approach. I get it. One of the things that's really helped me is from a conditioning point of view, because I've also had beliefs around sales. From a conditioning point of view, is I don't think of it as a sale anymore. I think of it as a chance to speak with someone, build rapport. Are we a good fit for each other? Yeah, you might be a little bit hesitant. Yeah, you might be a little bit reluctant. How about I nudge you slightly? But we're either a good fit or we're not. And that's like, I go into every conversation, not necessarily with the sale, but building rapport to see if we're a good fit. And, you know, I think you've done a video on dating before. And it really resonated with me, and it's spot on. Is like, you know, you and I aren't really the dating, you know, kings. But if I was going on a first date, I wouldn't be trying to do anything too outrageous. I'd be building rapport, you know. And I feel like it's the same thing with sales. You've got an opportunity to build rapport, see if it's a good fit for each other, and nudge a tiny bit, but remembering that, you know, it's a people industry. People will work with others that they know, like, and trust, and you can build that in 15 minutes. You can build it in 5. So if you just kind of take the sales bit out, knowing, yeah, cool, that's your end goal, but knowing that it's really about rapport building, and just get over it. Like, just get over the fact that it's in your head sales at this point in time, because if you're doing 3 calls a day for 3 weeks, this won't even be a conversation in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah. So that limiting belief can just be like, it's like in fitness terms, do the reps, just do enough of these and get over this. And that limiting belief is shattered, right?
Yeah. And I said it to you before, I feel like it's really important for these guys to understand the 4 levels of skill development, and just know that you're in that kind of murky stage 2. That it's like you're consciously unskilled for some of you, or you're consciously skilled, which is still a little bit of a struggle. And it's going like, it's just part of the process. Just sit with it.
Yeah. Just trust those 4 steps. Speaking of stuff to be unconscious of, one of my biggest ones over the last, in business since 2004, like a while, is that I'm not worthy of this big goal that I want, right? So my limiting belief was like, I want these massive goals and to impact all these people. Sort of like the belief of, who am I to deserve this, or that I'm not the type of person to deserve this, right? And I come across that now heaps with clients and potential clients, that they want these big goals, but they think they're not qualified enough or deserving enough, and that's a massive limiting belief for them. So for the fit pro watching with big goals, who perhaps doesn't believe they're worthy of them due to whatever reason, like how would they smash through that belief?
Well, I'll give you my kind of own one on this, and I think it's also helpful, is you need to own it, because no one's going to, like, when I decided I want to become a celebrity trainer and I wanted to build a media profile, no one's going to come to me and say, oh, Blake, you now have the title as health and fitness expert. I, to a degree, had to kind of own it myself and put myself out there as the expert, because people are intuitive enough to sniff that lack of confidence, right? So if you're like, oh, I kind of think you should do it, like, bang, it's gone. So confidence is a muscle as well. Like, build it. And one of the things you can do is, your physiology tells a lot. All right. So from a simple confidence tool is the way that you carry yourself. All right. It's a simple one: chest up, shoulders back. Our parents told us this as a kid. And it's funny because, don't tell my girlfriend this, but it's funny because before I understood all of this, I remember when I would walk into a pub back in my single days, I would naturally and quickly, like the second I walk into the pub, change my physiology. And straight away, from a confidence point of view, your confidence is up a little bit. People can tell your kind of essence and the way you hold space and the way you hold yourself. So from a simple tool is, the minute you walk into the gym, bang, you're up, and your physiology tells a good story. Ironically, we're on our phones all the time down like this. That's not doing anyone any favors from a confidence point of view. So up, chest proud, shoulders back makes a big difference. In terms of other ways to build your self-worth is, your environment's going to play a massive part, and never underestimate the importance of having a really good surrounding that builds that up. So, little things that build up, and then as your skills evolve, that naturally should come as well to self-worth. So, from a self-worth point of view, it can be so deep ingrained from, relationship with mum, relationship with dad, which then creates relationship with self. But there's some little kind of tweaks and little bits and pieces you can do that will start kind of building it up. And those are a few that I'd start with.
I love that. I love the doorway. And I love that you said that no one came and like anointed you this position or this role. You have to sort of step into that and then build on that, right? And it snowballs.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, epic. Guys, if anyone's watching live and has questions, let me know. This video came from a question that we received in a private group around limiting beliefs. So if you're on right now, I just scroll back up if there are any cues. Lots of legends, love it. Lots of Nice comments. No questions here to answer, guys. If you have questions after this is posted, post them here. And Blake or I will come back and answer them personally about limiting beliefs. That's all right. At voice inception. Anything you want to add or finish on, bro, about smashing limiting beliefs for any industry, not just PTs?
Well, I think the one thing is, and I'm so passionate about it, is we just need to wake up as a starting point. And from there, you can kind of start to, there's a part of being asleep that works in our favor, and that's essentially the kind of blissful ignorance that you don't address your pain points. But in all honesty, like, the shit is in the shadow. There's the opportunity for growth, and when you become awake to the shadow and what's not working for you, it just becomes another world. And in all honesty, like, I'm the first to put up my hand and say, certain areas of my life, I could go 5-6 years and justify things, justify why it's all right. But when you sit with it, like when you really sit with it in your gut and in your heart, you know what's wrong, and you know that something needs to be addressed. So it's ruthlessly holding yourself accountable, and ideally having the environment where, people might be a little bit ruthless towards you. And we're in this kind of little soft, warm, fluffy environment where people think they're doing us favors by saying, we're nice people or it's okay. But like, I might be on a different page, which I kind of am, but I kind of want people who can shine a little bit of spotlight on my shit and go, mate, like, from a loving, kind place, you suck at this, or this isn't working for you, or your world is going to be better when you can see this. Because, despite the fact I've done my best to wake up, over the last few years in particular, there's still bits of my shadow that I can't see. There's still the blind spots that if someone brought to my attention, I'd go, fuck, thank you very much. I've had all these, apologies for my language, but I've had all these pussies in the past just like stroking me and thinking that that's what I want. And yeah, cool. So, nice words are great and they make you feel nice. And at the same time, I'd like some ruthless people around me who can go, mate, your world will improve if you can just see that blind spot that's working heavily against you at the moment.
Dude, I could not agree more. In fact, those last 2 minutes from you were pure fire. I'm going to replay the end of this video just for that, bro, to hear that again. I love when you said, like, the shit is in the shadows, and to get people to ruthlessly hold you accountable and to front stab you with honesty and not bullshit to your face.
Mate, absolutely. And, like, I'm compassionate and empathetic enough to know that these things don't necessarily just, like, switch overnight. Like, there's some stuff that I'm working on, as I always am, that I reckon is deep-seated from, could be up to 30 years worth of deep seeding. That stuff doesn't just disappear overnight, but I am now on a conscious level where I know the gift is in the shit. That's my thought.
The gift is in the shit. Love that. That's a great hashtag. The gift is in the shit. Bro, I want to thank you for coming on and dropping absolute fire on this, especially the last 5 minutes. I feel you're just getting cranking. Bro, thanks for always showing up and giving so much and committing to growth. It's good to see. And thanks for helping so many on this call, brother.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me, champion.
Much love. Talk soon, bro.
Talk. Bye.